Okay, we're looking at addition strategies for decimals, and this will be useful for if you had to add something quickly in your head. So if we look at these grids, you're going to write an addition statement that corresponds to the grids, okay? So this first one here plus the second one is going to equal what? So we look at how many tenths are in the first one. So in the first one, we've got 1, 2, 3 tenths, and we've got 4 hundredths, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the second one, we have 1, 2, 3 tenths, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths. So when we add those together, what do we have? Well, let's use a different color. We've got 3 and 3 tenths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So we've got 3 and 3. And then we've got our hundredths. So if we used a different color, we've got 4 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 9 altogether. So how does that correspond now to the answer? Well, we can write how many tenths we've got. So we haven't colored in a whole one, so we don't have any ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths and 9 hundredths. Okay, so in your book, you're going to do question 1, where you're going to write an addition statement that corresponds to the grids. So there's A and B to do, okay? And then we will move on. Okay, number 2, you're going to add by sketching a base 10 model. Now in your book, the first one has already been sketched for you. You just have to write the answer. But the second one hasn't been done at all. So you need to create that. So I've done an example question here that is similar to the one in the book, but not the same. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at our base 10 blocks here. How many whole squares do we have? We've got 1 and 2. So we're going to put that here. 2. And then how many tenths do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, I erased it by accident. So we've got 7 tenths. And then how many ones do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our answer is 2.77. So for 2A, it's already the base 10 model is already created for you. For B, you're going to have to create it yourself. So you're going to have to make 1.46. How would that look with base 10 plus 1.33? And then you're going to add them together. So once you've done that, we can move on to question 3. Okay. So question 3 says to use equivalent fractions to calculate the decimal sum. So we're going to have to turn our decimal numbers into a fraction. Well, we know that in this case, our 8 is in the 10th column, so it's going to be 8 tenths. And in this one, the 1 is in the 10th column, so we're going to do 1 tenth. Now, because our denominators are the same in this question, we can add those no problem. We don't have to do anything else. So 8 plus 1 is 9, and we've got 10 underneath, so 9 tenths, right? And that translates to a decimal. How? We would just write it as 0.9, right? Because that's in the tenths. So 9 tenths and 0.9 are equivalent. Okay, so what would we do, though, if we had a number that didn't match? So what if we had, like, 0.5 plus 0.46? Okay, so if we change this to, well, this is in the 10th column, so 5 tenths plus 46 what? Hundredths, right? Because we're dealing with hundredths column here. Okay, well, we can't just add these straight because the denominators are different, right? So we're going to have to change this one. Well, if this is the case, if we just did this, we put a 0 to add as a place value, as a placeholder, we now have 50 hundredths, which is now the denominators are the same. And we can just add those together. So 50 plus 46 is 96 hundredths. So how would we write that as a decimal? Well, we have 0 ones, we have 9 tenths, and we have 6 hundredths, and that's how we would write that. Okay, so you can do question 3, where you're going to use equivalent fractions to calculate the decimal sums. Okay, question 4 says write the decimals as fractions with a common denominator to calculate the sum. So if we look at question 4, so if I had 0.35 plus 0.7, let's say, well, let's use one where we don't go over. Let's do 0.6. Okay, so how are we going to change that into decimals? Well, we got 35 over 100 for the first one, because it's 35 hundredths, plus 6 tenths. Now, what did we learn? Our denominators have to be the same, right? So we got 10 and 10, 110. So we're going to change that second one. So it's going to be the same as 35 hundredths, because we don't need to change that one at all. And we're going to add a 0 as a placeholder, so 60 hundredths. And now we can add those no problem. So that becomes 95 hundredths. And how would we write that as a decimal? Well, that becomes 0.95. Okay, so you're going to do question 4, A, B, and C. Very similar to the one we just did before, okay? Question 5 says write both decimals using the smallest place value to calculate the sum. So we'll do question A. If you have a question 2.15 plus 6.3. Okay, so let's start by just writing it out. We have, this is our hundredths place. So we know from previous lesson that this is the same as writing 215 hundredths. Plus 63 tenths. Because we always take that last, whatever the last digit is, that smallest one, right? The farther in you get with your decimals, the smaller it gets. So our smallest in the first one is hundredths, and our smallest in the second one is tenths. Okay, so then we got to change it because we can't really add these because they're different. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the first one the same, 215 hundredths. And we're going to change the tenths. We're just by adding a 0 as a placeholder. So it's 630 hundredths. Okay. When we add those together, we get 6 and 2, which is 8. 1 and 3, which is 4. 5 and 0 is 5 hundredths. Okay, so how does that translate into a decimal? Well, we know from this that we're going to have that final digit there in the hundredths place. That's your hundredths. Well, your 4 is going to be in the tenths. We're going to put a decimal, and we've got 8 whole. So 8.45. Okay, so I want you to try B now. You're dealing with thousandths, but it works the same way. You're just going to add a 0 for the place value for the placeholder, and then you can do question 5B. Okay, so for number 6, you've got add by adding each place value. So this is where you can quickly do in your head You can probably do this without doing all these steps, but for the sake of learning it really well, we're going to do all the steps. Okay, so we know that this is 3 ones plus 3/10 plus 2 ones plus 4/10. Okay, so we're going to put our, let's use a different color. We're going to put our ones together. So we got 3 ones plus 2 ones plus our tenths. Use a different color to show tenths. 3/10 plus 4/10, which means 3 plus tenths. I didn't feel like writing tenths twice, so there we go. So in the end, the answer will be how many ones? Well, we've got 5 ones. And we've got 7/10. Now you can write that as a decimal. 5.7. Okay, so you can do B. Okay, question 7 says add by adding each place value. So I feel like you can probably do this easily, but I'll just do the first one. So we've got tens. We're starting with bigger numbers now. We've got ones. We've got tenths. And we've got hundreds. Okay. So if we put 32.1, so we've got 3 tens, 2 ones, 0.1, and we're going to add 6.78. Then we can do the adding of this question. So we can put a line underneath. So we have 8 hundredths. We have 7 plus 1, which is 8/10. We've got our decimal. And we've got 2 plus 6, which is 8. And then 3 plus nothing is it. So our total answer will be 38.88. Now you could have probably just quickly done that in your head, but sometimes we can't do that. So I want you to do question 7B, and you're going to then move on to question 8, which requires you to regroup. So maybe we can do one from question 8 together. So if we had ones and tenths only, in this case. Okay, so if you had, and remember this is decimal, so if we had 1.7 plus 4.7, and we wanted to add those together. Okay, so 7 and 7, well, that's 14, isn't it? And 1 and 4 is 5. Now, we can't have 14 in just the tenths place. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to have to move. So we've got 14 tenths. Well, how do we change that into something we understand? Well, that's 1 whole. So 1 and 4/10, right? So we're going to move it over. It's just like adding in numbers. So that moves over. So then our answer becomes 6.4 because we've added the 1 to that. Okay? So you should be able to do questions 7 and 8 now, and I'll leave that with you. Okay? Question 9 is exactly the same as question 8. You've just got a few extra place values. So if I did a question with you, like that's, oops, if I do another page. So for question 9, if I do let's say 0.832 plus 3.564 plus 0.5. Okay, so let's set that up. We're going to have tenths. We're going to have ones. We're going to have decimals. We're going to have tenths. And we're going to have hundredths. And I'm going to put a nice fancy line through. So we've got tens, ones. Oops, let's try again. We're going to have tens, ones, tenths, hundredth, and then thousandths. Okay. So let's add these up, right? And we're going to have decimal there, decimal, decimal. So we've got 0.832. So 0 ones, 832. We've got 3 ones, 3.564, and 0.5. And we're going to add those together. Okay, so we're going to have to regroup here. I'm going to move this over just in case we need that. Okay, so we go 2 and 4 is 6. 3 and 6 is 9. So far we're okay. But now we got 8 plus 5 plus 5. Well, 5 and 5 is 10 plus 8 is 18. And then 3 plus nothing is 3. Okay, so we're going to have to regroup, aren't we? Because this, we can't have 18 in tenths. But we know that this is going to move over there. So it's going to be 3 plus 1. So the final answer will be 4.896. So you can now do question 9. And that's the end of your lesson today. The bonus question says regroup twice to add those 3 numbers. So all you're going to do is add the 3 numbers in the exact same way with the exact same chart. Use a ruler for your charts, and you should be okay. You can do the bonus question in your exercise book. Okay, have a good day.